Hi there, it's Skyward Shield. Welcome back to Football Talks Power Rankings for Week 7. There are a lot of shifts this week because, oh man, a lot of upsets of the weeks. Some I called, some I should have called, some I got wrong. But yes, a lot of shifts have happened because a lot of things have changed. For one, the biggest thing to note, the injury to Aaron Rodgers opens the NFC so much that another team could comfortably steal, I should say, the bye week from what usually would go to Aaron Rodgers and his NFC North squad. Now, the Vikings have a chance to claim the division. The Lions do, but they're not even trying to keep it. And the other NFC powerhouses right now, like the Eagles, who are pretty much a likely lock-in at this point in time so far, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Panthers, all have chances to go in and take the other spot away and get that coveted bye week to rest up and prepare. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's start with Tier 4, starting with 25 to 32. Some teams to note, the Browns and the 49ers still trapped in the basement, but the Giants got out. The Browns were schooled in learning. Not only did they give up Carson Wentz to the Eagles, who are high in the sky right now, but now you had to get humiliated by Deshaun Watson, the guy who you gave up to the Houston Texans. But the 49ers, I feel, if they can get a win, I would get them out of here. I would at least put them towards the top of Tier 4, because I know that might be weird to some people. But this team has lost, for a team that's won 5 Lombardi trophies, to all of a sudden losing 5 games in a row by 3 points or less is devastating. That is pained franchise right there. I mean, I'm not going to say that they are a pained franchise overall, because you have 5 Lombardi trophies. You had Joe Montana. You had Jerry Rice. So, I don't know. You guys are good, but this is, as a whole year, this is painful. This is painful right here. Anyway, another team to mention, a newcomer to the Tier 4 basement, though this is not unfamiliar territory to this franchise over the past decade. The Oakland Raiders, back in Tier 4. They shouldn't be here, but something's wrong. Their defense is not coming up. Like, it's been a problem. They did sign Navarro Bowman, and they do have a short week to play the Kansas City Chiefs, who are vulnerable. But I think the Chiefs will win that game. But should the Raiders win, they would easily power out of Tier 4 and possibly into Tier 2, bottom of Tier 2, depending on how big of a win that is. Anyway, let's move on to Tier 3. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I believe we're on to Tier 3. So Tier 3 is 17 to 24, or just about 20. Yeah, anyway, so the thing about this side, you see some risers and some big droppers come all the way down here. So the biggest riser from here, I would say, coming from bottom of Tier 4 all the way up to here, is the Los Angeles Chargers. Nearly said San Diego, not this time. The Chargers, who were at 29 last week, are now at 20. They went up 9 spots. Whereas I'll get to Green Bay in a second. You had actually Baltimore drop from 20 now to 28. They've dropped 8 spots. The Bengals dropped 1 just because some teams have changed, like the Cardinals, who went up from, ironically, 28 to now 21. They went up 7 spots. The Cowboys, with the loss of Ezekiel Elliott, I moved them down 1 spot, also primarily because some teams have moved up. The Dolphins, who just barely got out of Tier 4, now at the bottom of Tier 3 at 3-2 because of the Falcons, which I'll mention that later. But this one, the big ones to me are the Jets and the Packers. The Jets didn't move at all. I think this is because there were some teams who moved around so much, and I couldn't really find a right spot for them. And plus, considering they did beat the Jaguars, I felt they should at least be above them. So for now, they stay. And plus, in my opinion, that game should have gone to overtime at the very minimum, because that should have been a touchdown. The Jets got hardcore Lions out there, and I don't think I deserve to bring them down because of that. They did blow the lead, sure, but I still think that they shouldn't be dropped down too hard for that. And like I said, other teams had to take their spot. So now let's focus on Green Bay. Green Bay last week was my number 6 team, and now they've dropped to 19. That's 13 spots. I believe that is my biggest drop of the week. The loss of Aaron Rodgers, as well as losing this game, a division rival game, is big. Now, theoretically, they are not mathematically eliminated at all. They're 4-2. That's a good spot. They only need to win about, I'd say, 5 games to maybe consider a wild card spot, but I don't know. The NFC looks so stacked right now with playoff contenders. And again, the distinction is playoff contender between that and Super Bowl contender. A playoff contender means you can vie for a playoff spot and maybe win a playoff game, whereas a Super Bowl contender means you can go to the title game, or you can go to the big game, the big Super Bowl, and try to win it all. That's what the difference is. The Packers I have exposed for a while as a hard carry by Aaron Rodgers. We will probably see them fall. They're still going to win games. I think they're going to finish the season with like a 7-9 record. I think they can win 3 games. But Aaron Rodgers has got the 4 wins, so he's done almost half the work for them. But I may not like the guy, but I still didn't wish I will never wish an injury like that to happen on him. Get well soon, boy, because you are impactful to this league, and like I said, opens up the NFC for everybody. Now then, the Jaguars, so inconsistent. I had them at 13 because I wasn't that sold, and I had a feeling they were going to drop it to the Rams, and I was right. So they go down 5 spots. Their defense is still great, but they lost it on special teams, and the offense was just stagnant, save for Leonard Fournette. The Leonard Fournette show can't do everything. Anyway, the Jags are on pace for an 8-8 season, which will not help them address their quarterback situation, so have fun with that. Anyway, let's move on to Tier 2. Barely staying alive in the bottom just because I couldn't put them any lower than some of these other teams. The Detroit Lions dropped from 12 to 16. Now, some people put them 16, but that's because they had them still as a top 10 team. I was harsh and said no, I put them at 12. Now they're 16 where they belong. Kind of. I'd drop them much harder, but I can't put them below the Packers since they I believe, are much better. Matt Stafford's getting murdered out there. They've lost more players. Glover Quinn's got a concussion. I believe he'll be back for the next game after their bye against Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. Golden Tate is having a nurse a shoulder injury. He's gonna miss weeks. That's bad. You need Kenny Golladay back. You need him back now. I think he'll be starting come that Sunday night game. We'll see. The Titans. I had the Titans actually at 24. They've gone to 15. That's not. I believe they went up 9 spots if my math is correct. Yes, it should be correct. They were at a spot where an old team who has made a big rise this week in the power rankings. But regardless, the Titans are back in the playoff race. In fact, all 3 teams, the Jags, Titans, and the Texans, are vying for 1 spot, and they're all at the same record. Very close, very close. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this division, even if it's ugly. I kind of like that it's close. But if you lose a game, you might be giving up your shot at the division ground. So that's why this AFC South is a lot more saucy. Anyway, let's move on to the Texans. They moved to exactly where I said they were. I promised you, if they won, they move up to 6 to 13. No higher unless they gave a big blowout. And they did blow out the Browns. Don't be fooled by the box score. It was a lot more wide open. It was a lot more closed off than you think. It was 33. I think it was 30 to 3 or something like that at one point. No, wait, it was like 23 to 3. Before, the only points they scored was by a pick 6 from Devin McCourty off Deshaun Watson, his first big mistake, but it didn't matter at that point, and a garbage time touchdown from Kevin Hogan to the safety valve, which, why start Kevin Hogan, Browns? You should be better than this. You need to start Sean Kaiser and make him play every game to see if he's got it, because, I mean, if not, you ruined his career, essentially. But yes, Texans are at 13. Like I said, they were. Defense looked good. They did lose Dylan Cole for a week, or for a month. And, hopefully by then, maybe Kevin Johnson will be back in the lineup, which is perfect considering they got to go to the clink to play the number 6 Seattle Seahawks. But anyway, let's keep this going. The team above them, the Atlanta Falcons. Oh my God! Have you forgotten? Have you changed at all since you blew that 28-3 lead? Because oh my God, you blew a 17-0 lead over the Dolphins, the worst offense in football right now. And you want to still say you're a top 10 team? Devonta Freeman was saying that he should have been MVP candidate for the Super Bowl game if they won. Bitch, you were a turnstile a turnstile door for Deontay Hightower to get that strip sack fumble to change the game around. You don't deserve anything. If anything, you gave up the play of the game. Anyway, the Falcons team cannot close out the games. In fact, they should be playing games close because they have better odds of winning that. And you lost in your own building. No one's afraid of you anymore. Everyone was afraid because of what you did to the Packers. But you should never have made the Prolapse Stadium because, to put it one way, the Georgia Dome was a lot better. Because at least you could put fake crowd noise to win your games. Anyway, the Washington football team has fallen out of the narrow top 10 list even though they won. They stayed, or actually I should say they stayed in the same spot even though they won because the loss of a secondary piece, another secondary starter, is very bad because you still won't get Josh Norman anytime soon. And you're going up against Philly, the number 2 team. Have fun with that. A new team to make it into the top 10 though, who rose from 18 to 10, is the New Orleans Saints. I told you this team was a team to watch because if they won, they'd be taken seriously, and now they're in their playoff hunt. At first it looked like, okay, the defense will be better, but there's no way this Saints team could do anything, especially because they got rid of some good offensive pieces. No, they're fine. They're pretty good. Marshawn Lattimore is good. I kind of wish the Cowboys got him, but no. Oh well, I guess. Anyway, so the Saints are good. They're back on top, and next up we have tier 1 really. At the bottom of tier 1 is at number 8 is the Minnesota Vikings. I told you the Vikings-Packers game was important, and I knew the Vikings would win. I didn't think it'd be because of an injury to Aaron Rodgers, but a win's a win, and now they are the heavy favorites to win the NFC North. The only team in their way is the Detroit Lions. Hell, the Chicago Bears are technically back in this now, but they need help, but they're in it. But the Vikings, this is their team. This is the team to beat in the NFC North now. And the other kicker is that Teddy Bridgewater is back at the training with the Vikings. So, if he starts and he's back to being his old self, this team could go places. I don't know how far they'd go, but they'd be a pretty good team. I told you they were at 15, they went up to 8, 7 spots. That's a really good boost. Next up, a team that did well, not by much, even though they didn't go up much, as you know. In this top group, it's really hard to move up one spot. So just moving up even just one spot, it means a lot in this area. And the Rams went up 2 spots to number 7, just as the Seahawks moved up because some teams had to drop. The Seahawks moved up to 6 because some teams dropped, namely being the Broncos, who laid a huge egg to the Giants. Like you shut down the Cowboys, and everyone's like, and even I was thinking, you're gonna be a good team. Not anymore. I mean, they're in that frisky tier. To me, tier 2 is, like I said, playoff contender tier. These are frisky teams who can maybe go for a playoff hunt, and if they shape up at the end of the year when it matters most, they could look like Super Bowl contenders. I wouldn't say they're out of the playoff hunt. I think they could still become a wild card team because it's the Chiefs division right now. But yeah. Anyway, Seahawks are up at 6. They've pretty much taken the Packers spot. The Rams are at 7 with that really good win against the Jaguars. The Falcons, like I said, dropped. So the Patriots are there. So even though the Patriots have moved up, especially with that controversial Jets win, they moved up still. And the Panthers didn't move at all. I know this is surprising, but I didn't see any reason for the Patriots or the Seahawks to surpass them. And the Rams, I need to see more out of the Rams defense before I could bequeath them the Elite Four status. And as of right now, I think the Panthers could have, if they never made those mistakes, if Cam played a little better, I think they'd be at a better spot. But I still like some of the pieces on offense. Pittsburgh, perhaps the actual one of the biggest risers as well, went up 9 spots too, from 14 all the way to 3. Good shit on beating the Chiefs, but the Chiefs don't lose their spot at number 1. It's only their first loss, and they're still better than the Eagles. So 1 and 2, perfectly secure. Unless the Chiefs drop one on Thursday night, which we have to see, I still think the Chiefs have it. I still think this is the Chiefs' spot to lose. They're still top in the power rankings. Same thing with the Eagles. The top two teams are there, and the one right behind them, the dark horse, I guess you could say, is the Steelers. But to me, the Steelers could easily rise like this and drop like this. They could easily lay an egg in a game they should win handily, which they have this week against the Bengals. If they lay an egg there, well, they're going back where they belong. They're going to go back to number 14. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about some games to note. Obviously, there is the Thursday night game between the Raiders and the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are in a bit of a pickle because they lost Tyreek Hill and Charkandrick West, who are very pivotal pieces on the offense, and they're still a great team, but you just can't keep losing. You can only lose so many players before you drop it. Another game to note is the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons for a Super Bowl matchup in Foxborough. This is going to be big for both teams because if they want to stay relevant in their divisions, if the Falcons want back in at the shot at being on the driver's seat for the division crown, they need this win especially. Also to put that shit away that's haunted them for many years. That's been a meme of many months and many months more to come. They really need that They really do need that win. Alright, sorry about that, got interrupted again, but let's get the last 3 games out of the way. So, the other 3 games to note are Rams-Cardinals, the London game, because this is both a road game for them, so it'll be interesting to see how they do, and they play each other close. The Rams have always played the Seahawks close, but they've also played the Cardinals close. So, it should be interesting to see what they can do. Another game, the 4th game I want to note, is the Broncos-Chargers. I know this is a bit surprising, but the Broncos need to establish that they are still wildcard contenders, or they're letting the Chargers in for the other another shot at the wild card too. I'm still of the belief that there will be 3 teams coming out of the AFC West, and at first I thought it would be Chiefs, Raiders, and the Chargers, but now it looks like the Raiders may be on the outside looking in if they don't beat the Chiefs. So basically, all the AFC West is on notice for this week because they all have big games, big divisional matchups against each other. The last game I want to mention is the Saints-Packers. Now, had this have been with Aaron Rodgers, I think everyone would have said Green Bay is the heavy favorite by a long shot, but now this is a game the Saints have to do it well. They have to establish dominance. They need to not just show that they can handle this backup quarterback who's now prepping for his first start, but they also need to show that the offense can just gash this defense that's been with Clay Matthews, and I forget that other guy, I think his last name is Martinez, who has been a really good defensive player for the Packers. So they need to just gash them like they did to Detroit, and also, if they have a lead, to not let the Packers back in the battle. So yeah, there you go. You got your 5 games to note: Raiders, Chiefs, Falcons, Patriots, Broncos, Chargers, Cardinals, Rams, and Saints, Packers. Anyway, I think that'll do it. If you have any questions, or if you disagree or agree with certain spots of these power rankings, feel free to put them in the comments section below. Always down for discussions. If you want, just be respectful about it. Don't be a dick if your team is not where you like it to be. This is just an opinion, nothing more. So, with that out of the way, I will see you guys in for week 8.